the balance. We had to find balance that allowed our community to find its own equilibrium, if you would, that allows people that wish to be engaged to have the options through broadband technology, and for those that didn't wish to be engaged to be opted out without being set upon by those that are really trying to grasp their future. So our future had to have a balance, and our community had to have a balance. And this balance had to respect the wishes of the community as a whole, without holding back those that wanted, often quite passionately, to move to their new future as they saw it. So this was really, in Hinton's experience, about managing change. Managing change was a key responsibility for the leadership of our community, and managing change is really about helping others have their say and be heard. One thing I've learned in my years in politics is that the citizens want two things from their leadership. One, they want you to listen to what they've got to say, and two, they want you to do something about it. And you can always deliver on at least 50% of that as soon as you listen. So, our model for change and my personal principle model for change and how to lead change is what I call the 20-20-60 principle. You will see on this pie graph that essentially 20% of the people in any given demographic will absolutely love what their leaders are doing for various reasons. They believe passionately in the leadership, they believe passionately in their community, or they believe passionately in the technology or the project. 20% of the folks will absolutely hate it. They will not support a single thing their leadership does because they don't believe in the leadership. They don't like the community they're living in. They don't believe the project has a future, and it doesn't matter what you do, it's not going to be good enough. That's okay too. However, we believe that 60% of the people out there are actually waiting and watching and paying attention and will choose to engage if it makes sense to them. Part of the challenge is always going to be, what's in it for me? We choose to not spend a whole lot of time on the 20% of people that love it for a very basic reason. They're already engaged, they're already supporting. We just need to nurture them to ensure that they keep coming along, even though those are the folks that we feel most validated by, because no matter what we do, it's all good. The 20% of people that hate it, very little effort spent there. Because the amount of effort that's going to be expended in trying to get them to change their minds when they're so entrenched would best be spent on the 60% of people that are waiting to be shown the way. And if you put most of your energy, we've learned, in the 60% of the people that are waiting to make a decision or waiting to see where the leadership is going or what your vision is, you will very quickly move that 60% over to the folks that will engage and support. So you just marginalize both the ones that love it and the one that hate it, and that's okay, because that's how we're managing change in the community of Hinton. The second thing we need to do, of course, is we have to engage the community. Now, I very deliberately included this slide where you've got the monster on the computer screen, because quite often people that don't understand the technology, that's exactly the image they see when they sit down in front of a computer screen. They worry about how it's going to impact on them, that they don't know all the technology to do, they don't know how to engage, and this is just going to be a lot of money invested in something that makes no sense to them at all. So part of our challenge, of course, in engaging the community was to find partners. We needed to find partners, and early on, we had a local cable television channel, Shaw Cable, who was very actively looking at building their network across the province. Shaw Cable had a need to build an internet connectivity and show that it can work in rural Alberta. So we partnered with Shaw Cable to come into our community and start engaging in a broadband internet experience and start showing how the methods that they're developing in larger centers can be transferred to rural communities. We also had early internet-based businesses that wanted to locate here. We had a small company, for example, their name is Aldata, who are supplying services to the world, and it's a really interesting technology. Aldata had a business model that showed how you could manage your lumber yard and your log turnover and your log inventory, because we are a forest-based community, on a just-in-time basis that would allow businesses to have better control of their inventory and their logs. So two things. They wanted to locate in a forestry-based community, and they needed access to the world. So they chose to locate their business here in Hinton, and were an early adapter as well, as they understood the benefits of accessing the world through broadband technology. The schools in our community were leaders. Grand Yellowhead really understood what could happen here if we could connect our schools, connect our children, and engage in broadband-based technology for learning. And they actually, one of the unique partnerships that Hinton had developed early on was the schools supplying technological services through our friend John Close, who's here in the room with us, and having a partnership agreement that we could share services, and most importantly, and this is something all of us will have to find ways to do, plug into the Alberta SuperNet and the technology that the provincial government has supplied and put in. We also had healthcare providers that understood the advantage of being connected to broadband internet for various reasons, including the ability to network with their peers in remote communities and educate themselves by bringing in teaching opportunities and learning opportunities early on in the system. Of course, the provincial government had that new technology called the broadband, and we had to find a way to make the SuperNet on the provincial government technological sites work for us here in Hinton. That's still a challenge across rural Alberta. We needed to engage youth, we needed to engage business, and most importantly, we needed to talk about our future. We needed to shape and define what our future could look like. And in order to do that, you have to define what is your reality. Where do you sit today? Part of our reality was shrinking class sizes and losing youth from our community. And we understood that our schools couldn't offer everything to everybody, although, of course, everybody wants everything, and they want it now, and they want it better, and they want it immediately, and they want it to be top-notch and the best in the world. The reality is, though, that's not what's available. So the question for us became, what is available? What areas can we move into? And we understood that we needed to find a focus. And once we understood what our focus could be and where we needed to be, our biggest job, like I said at the beginning, was to lead by example and set the support mechanisms in place and then get out of the way and let people with the passion to do it do what they need to do. So Hinton led the way by installing modern internet video suites in our town hall. And we also made it available to our community through various access points. Hinton led by connecting our departments and by offering web services in our library. We internet connected all of our departments at the town. We moved to interactive web maps and GIS mapping for our services in our planning department. And we also put in place a program that would allow home computer purchases by our employees. The idea behind the home computer purchases, of course, was to allow employees to become more familiar with the service, the ability to use computers and some of the technology. It's not something that's needed now, as everybody seems to have a computer in their purse or in their back pocket with today's smartphones. But early on, Hinton understood that we had to lead by modeling the way, by choosing technologies that were cutting edge. For example, when we first got our video suite, we made a choice early on to go with web-based content and internet services rather than the phone-based content, which was more predominantly available at that time. And it took a while for others to catch up, and so that we could actually connect with them, but the benefits are being paid today, as Hinton has at least 5 businesses that I'm aware of that have internet video suites in their businesses, as well as at least 2 video suites in each one of our schools here in our community, I believe. The buy-in in the early stages was challenging, and not everyone had that technology. But we found our best partner early on was when we were able to share our services and engage our schools, especially our local public high school. And of course, Shaw Cable was imperative as well. Lesson learned from there, get the technology providers interested early on because they understand the business case and the business model that makes sense for them. Today, we have connected professionals. We have lawyers who are deposing witnesses by video conference, thereby saving themselves 3-hour one-way trips to Edmonton. The Business Link is offering local entrepreneurs training classes with lecturers from around the province working with folks during their lunch hours. We have Aldata and others like them, as I said earlier, selling their log inventory controlled around the world. And we also have town council meetings that are broadcast on the internet utilizing broadband technology, which not only connects seniors and stay-at-home folks in the community directly to council meetings and the decisions, it also keeps connected those folks that choose to leave our community for various reasons, whether it's to go to school, or whether it's to attend health service in other communities, or simply to relocate for jobs. We have remote monitoring of our water system controls, so that we can control the amount of water that's flowing to services throughout our community by remote access. And we also, at one time, brought in a lady